Prior to the 2017 NFL season starting, various analysts started power rankings to order what they believed to be the strength of each team. The higher the rank, the more likely the team is to win the Super Bowl, or at the very least make it to the playoffs. This is a mid-season update on how far off, or on the mark, analysts have been. The power rankings of Elliot Harrison, ESPN, Football Outsiders, and Pro Football Focus are averaged together. Time for a checkup. Glancing over the preseason power rankings, it is clear that some teams were overrated while others were underestimated. After averaging the power rankings from each source following Week 9's conclusion, the overall rankings for each team are as follows. The 49ers had a tougher schedule, and yet both teams are winless. Cleveland's offensive line has been average. The ground game has been decent when it isn't coughing up the ball. The receiver loadout is fairly weak. The defense is middling, but by far the brightest spot of this team. Hugh Jackson's intuition with DeShone Kizer was terrible. The rookie has performed 32.3% below QB statistical average. Jamarcus Russell was 24.4% below average as a rookie, with a bottom 8 offensive line. Ryan Leaf was 33.6% below average as a rookie with top 8 pass protection. Clearly, Kizer isn't being paid nearly as much as those two. It is just worth noting that his performance has been abysmal. Hugh Jackson has the quarterback depth chart upside down. It should have been Cody Kessler, Kevin Hogan, then DeShone Kizer. Cody Kessler performed 3.2% below average as a rookie, while Kevin Hogan played 16.3% below average this season. Danny Vitale has been used solely as a lead blocker, which is disappointing. He was a dominant receiving back at Northwestern. NFL Combine scouts stated that his route running was great, he just needed to work on his release from the breaks to gain separation. The Browns transitioned Terrell Pryor from a QB to a wide receiver. I'm sure they can help Vitale. San Francisco lost 5 straight by 3 or fewer points earlier in this season. The squad is undisciplined, the offense struggles to stay on the field, and can't score meaningful points with Beathard behind center. Below average offensively and defensively, the offensive line is average in run blocking and below average in pass protection. Pierre Garçon is their only relevant receiver. The ground attack is middling, but passable. The quarterback play has been ugly. Reinhardt is 13.5% below average in 2017, and Beathard is 24.4% below average. 31st in adjusted completion percentage, 30th in passer rating versus pressure, 32nd versus the blitz, 32nd in short throw passer rating, 30th in intermediate throw passer rating, and takes 2.61 seconds to throw. That is a quick time, but considering how poorly he has played, he may want to consider his options longer before throwing. Coach says no to Jimmy G this season. We'll see if that holds up. The Giants have the highest drop rate, ranked 27th in rushing yards per game, and ranked 29th in points allowed per game. Evan Ingram is their only decent weapon left for Eli Manning, and the offensive line was playing terrible when they had weapons. The line's play has improved, but their team is still well below average on both sides of the ball, mainly due to the offense's incapability of staying on the field for any suitable length of time. The Giants must invest resources into their offensive line prior to the 2018 season. Otherwise, repeat of this year, minus losing 5 receivers in 1 game. Hopefully. Not sure why the staff wanted to be rid of Jay Ajayi, but he definitely is playing behind a far superior offensive line, and his game with the Eagles shows just how great he can be on a good team. Week 9 was by far Jay Cutler's best this season. He seems to have gotten over the check-down mentality virus that went through his system. The Miami offensive line is far better at pass protection than they are at run blocking. And with 3 good wideouts and Julius Thomas, a pass-heavy attack makes sense as long as Jay Cutler doesn't catch that virus again. The offense and defense rank outside the top 20 in points per game this season. Mike Evans and Jameis Winston have to mature. Both of them had embarrassing emotional lashouts during Week 9. The only area that Winston stands out in, compared to the NFL starting QBs, is being 13th in big-time throws. 4.8% of his throws. He has been below average statistically in every year as a starter. This season hasn't been any different. Behind well above average pass protection, he doesn't have any excuse. Below average on offense and bottom 4 defensively, this team needs help. The Indianapolis Colts have the worst point differential in the NFL this season, and there are 2 winless teams. Their offensive line has given up the highest sack percentage in the league. Jacoby Brissett has played 4.6% below QB statistical average and has a passer rating of 62.9% when pressured. Considering that Brissett deals with pressure pretty much 50% of the time, it is safe to say that his actual performance is closer to average. He has played tough despite his unfortunate position. Respect. Adrian Peterson ran 37 times for 159 yards in a let's control the clock approach from Bruce Arians, who isn't really known for that kind of game plan. With an abysmal pass protection unit and injuries to David Johnson and Carson Palmer, all the Arizona offense can do effectively is run the ball. And the run blocking in Arizona was bottom 8. But they have pushed out of that ranking with Adrian Peterson running the ball. The guy is a machine. The Bengals were held to 1 or fewer touchdowns for the 3rd time this season last week. They scored more than 2 offensive touchdowns just once this season, and it was against the Browns. This has been an embarrassing unit. At least the defense is average. Hopefully they can figure things out. Little noted fact, Jordan Howard is 4th in rushing yards as of Week 8's conclusion. He was 2nd in 2016, and he's running behind a below-average offensive line. Zeke is gifted with better production across the board from his line, and yet Howard still chases down his numbers. The receiving core is weak. Mike Glennon was the starter before they found out that he caught the same virus as Jay Cutler. Checkdown mentality. So, despite his many completions, he still provided next to nothing to the team. Best yet, he still threw interceptions, leading to an 11.4% below average performance. Mitch Trubisky has played 22.8% below average. This is his rookie year. He would have ideally been learning if Glennon would have done his job. The defense is middling in efficiency, but in many cases scores more points than the offense. A pretty nifty unit. The Chicago Bears have endured a rough schedule and were surprisingly relevant in most of their games. Their record may improve in coming weeks considering their remaining opponents. The Jets' offensive line is below average. The offense and defense have been below average. Josh McCown has played, surprisingly, average this season. Although his 69 QBR in the first 3 quarters looks good, it drops to 12 QBR in the 4th as of Week 8. The defense is just good enough to end some drives, and while the offense is fairly poor, the team has sluggers. Robbie Anderson and Bilal Powell have contributed to those home run plays. They are below average with lethal burst. Pretty handy. If their offense wasn't burst only, they would perform better in the 4th quarter. Alas, that won't be the case this season. Losing playmakers on defense hurts. Losing your electric rookie quarterback, worse. To Tom Savage and his apologist agent, 20.5% below QB average statistically is why Tommy Boy was benched and Deshaun Watson started. 12.9% above average passing stats with 36 rushes for 7.5 yards on average. With average defensive efficiency, the team can't carry an ineffective offense. How ineffective? The Colts, who had only bested winless teams in 2017, beat the Texans. What a way to close out a once exciting Houston season. Denver's pass protection is bottom 8 so far. That doesn't help young quarterbacks in general. Add in Trevor Siemian's 19% passer rating versus pressure, 19.5% rating on deep throws, and his only above average feature being a 98.9% rating on short throws, and you spelled disaster. Brock Osweiler started in Week 9. For some reason, the staff believed that 50-50 Ozzie would fix their dysfunctional passing game. They were wrong. The previous second-place defense is now 6th in efficiency after the Eagles' offense took a shot at them. None were prepared. This season is over for Denver, and judging from the body language of the players, I'd say they think that too. Aaron Rodgers is hurt, and the team is 0-3 with Brett Hundley behind center. They haven't scored more than 17 points in those games. Green Bay was being carried by their offense, but it's become clear that they were actually being carried by Aaron Rodgers. How so? Rodgers was a top 5 quarterback this season. Brett Hundley is below average in every category, with his biggest weak points being play under pressure, blitz, deep throws, and big-time throw percentage. With all of this, I still believe that Mike McCarthy's scheme is the problem. He played like Rodgers was on the field for 2 games, leading to Brett Hundley being 41.1% below QB average statistically. Once he adapted the play calling to take pressure off of Hundley, his performance improved to 28.2% below QB average. That's a huge improvement over 1 game. The Los Angeles Chargers ranked 22nd in scoring this season after ranking 9th last season, and ranked 7th in defensive scoring after finishing 29th last season. Phillip Rivers has been behind above average pass protection and plays alright under pressure. So why is a pocket passing veteran struggling this season? Terrible play against the blitz, such as a 69% passer rating, could be the answer. Joe Flacco isn't the GOAT, Ravens fans. He has the 3rd worst touchdown to interception ratio of this season. He also averaged 5 yards per attempt against Tennessee. The offense can't blame its troubles on the offensive line. They are a top 10 unit. Bottom 8 offensively and 2nd best defensively. The offense is holding this team back. Oakland has yet to intercept a pass. Opposing teams have completed 71.2% of their passes. Their defense is currently the worst performing in the league. Offensively, the team is top 8. The ground game is best with Marshawn Lynch, and receivers have taken turns standing out this season. First it was Michael Crabtree, then Amari Cooper, and now Jared Cook. Although Derek Carr's passer rating drops 54.5% when pressured. That spells disaster against any effective pass rush. Atlanta is averaging 16.6 points per game the past 5 games. This team's record doesn't reflect the dominant individual performances on offense and defense. Based on those performances alone, this team is top 4 offensively and top 8 defensively. In actual efficiency, they are 8th offensively and 29th defensively. With Matt Ryan only playing below average on deep passes, this team can win games if they just finish out. Again, they have individuals playing great this season and are still finding ways to lose. Seems like the Super Bowl spilled over to the main season. The only winning record team this season with a negative point differential. When the Smash Mouth works, they are okay. When it doesn't, the gunslinger has to come out. Marcus Mariota is top of the league in yards and passer rating off of play action. He is 3rd versus pressure, 2nd in big-time throws, and only throws turnover-worthy passes 2.3% of the time, which is 7th best through Week 9. Despite their success, the team's efficiency has been middling to below average on all fronts. Outside of the Steelers, their remaining schedule isn't all that difficult. They could finish out well this season. This team has some serious ups and downs. Despite the record, Detroit has been a top 12 team in efficiency. Matthew Stafford only has 3 major weaknesses as a quarterback: blitz, turnover-worthy throws, and dropped passes. The O-line play has been mediocre, and Abdullah's fumbles this past game would have taken them out of the game if a better QB was behind Green Bay's center. How are backs supposed to run when the O-line is barely granting 2.88 adjusted line yards, are stuffed 31% of the time, and fail 67% of short yardage rushes? The foundation for success on both sides of the ball starts with the line. They are clearly lacking in this offensive department. Detroit has also faced stiff competition in their schedule. Things should ease out moving forward, minus the Ravens and Vikings games. Buffalo has been middling for most of the season. Their offensive line is abysmal, especially in pass protection. The ground game has been inconsistent and receivers have been pretty terrible, possessing the least yards and receptions of any receiving core in the NFL 2017 season. The addition of Kelvin Benjamin, Carolina's most efficient target this season, may help. Tyrod Taylor has played well, despite the poor protection and receiver play. He is 4th versus pressure, 7th versus blitz, 5th in intermediate throw passer rating, and Matt Ryan is the only quarterback throwing less turnover-worthy throws. Dominant performances from Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Jerry Hughes, and Tre'Davious White are keeping this team in games. They have 4 more tough games. Let's see how they go. Washington has played a tough schedule. It doesn't get much easier. This team has battled injuries all year and still remains competitive. Ryan Kerrigan was a monster in Seattle. 2 down defensive linemen, and he still found a way to pressure Wilson. Kirk Cousins has had his abilities questioned all season. The receiving core is weak and, outside of Vernon Davis, inconsistent. Even so, Cousins is 5th in adjusted completion percentage and 2nd versus the blitz. Slap on solid play at all distances and you have yourself a solid quarterback. A top 8 defense headed by Luke Kuechly, Kawann Short, and Thomas Davis. They have to be good because James Bradberry is their only standout defensive back. Cam Newton has been in the bottom half of QB play all season. These issues could be schematic, as what we saw from him in 2015 isn't what we are seeing offensively this season. Cam isn't a top-tier passer, and the offensive line has historically struggled without Michael Orr and Ryan Khalil, so he needs to run to remain relevant. I can understand fear of your expensive quarterback being hurt, but if that is the fear, don't have Newton. Christian McCaffrey has been performing well as a receiver. He is actually in the top 50 in receiving yards. With one of the toughest remaining schedules, Carolina will have to play their best football. Let's talk about Russell Wilson. The man has been pressured at the 3rd highest rate this season, and he's the only quarterback leading his team in both passing and rushing. With the state of his offensive line for most of the season, only being below average in completion percentage is impressive. Dwayne Brown is a great addition, only allowing 2 pressures over 62 snaps. Dwight Freeney has also been valuable, generating 6 pressures over 23 pass rush snaps. The defense is still top 8, even if its dominance has slipped. Number 1 in defensive efficiency and above average offensively. This defense ranks 1st in points allowed per game, total QBR, sacks, and touchdown to interception ratio. Top 10 O-line and a superb ground attack with or without Leonard Fournette. Blake Bortles is the only major weak point of this team, and he is playing relatively average. Even so, it is worth noting that he performs poorly against the blitz and is well below average at producing big-time throws. Dallas, defensively, is well below average. Luckily, DeMarcus Lawrence has 11 sacks, 7 QB hits, and 24 hurries so far. The pass rush has been good, but it will flicker out if the Cowboys fail to maintain their long possession on offense. Zeke has been their answer all season, but if he is suspended, they will have to find a new answer. I can't imagine a back struggling behind a top 5 offensive line, but I suppose the possibility stands. Dak Prescott hasn't met pressure all that often, so his passing stats look fantastic. Just keep in mind that his passer rating drops 19.3% under pressure, although he is still 6th best under pressure. There are plenty pointing out Ezekiel Elliott's situation being far better off due to his stellar line. Haven't heard or seen it for Dak. That said, he has been a top 10 QB again this season, so props. Dallas found a keeper. Minnesota has been playing at the level of a top 8 team in the NFL. Props to the defense, who has allowed the third fewest points thus far. The pass protection has been top-notch, which is great for Case Keenum. The ground game has maintained its rhythm even with its loss of Dalvin Cook. The receiving core has been dominant, especially Adam Thielen. Case Keenum's success has mostly gone unnoticed due to his conservative approach. The guy is top 8 when under pressure, rarely throws turnover-worthy passes, and is a top 10 quarterback in Football Outsiders metrics. He is completely average according to passer rating, and only 3.4% above average statistically, which highlights that standard stats are only part of the picture. Top 5 offense and a top 10 defense with a top 5 O-line. Alvin Kamara has been dominant all season. Drew Brees grades out 14.1% above QB average, 58.5 QBR, 25.4% DVOA from Football Outsiders, and an 85.8 grade from Pro Football Focus. So, talk of him having a quiet season, looking at MJD, needs to stop. He hasn't been throwing as many touchdowns. Other than that, he has been phenomenal. Defensively, Marshawn Lattimore has been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL this season. The current second most efficient offense in the league is backed by a below-average defense. Kareem Hunt is slowing down, with less than 50 yards on average over the past 4 games. He is still making defenders miss, so the issues may be schematic. A relatively middling offensive line, and lack of playmakers outside of Hunt, Alex Smith, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill isn't much to carry an offense, but Andy Reid makes it work. Tambahali's return is looking good, as Tyron Smith struggled to block him on several late-game plays. New England has to hide some personal deficiencies on defense. Tom Brady heads the most efficient offense in the NFL, but will be tested by the 5th toughest defenses via their remaining schedule. Brandon Cooks is looking more comfortable in the offensive scheme. Losing Hightower hurts, especially when the defense was bottom 8 in rush stuff, pass rush, and coverage with him. Top 10 offense and top 5 defense lead to great results. The schedule hasn't been particularly difficult, but they have been dominant in several games scoring-wise, so that isn't a worry. Having a top 5 offensive line that has allowed Jared Goff to play far better than a season ago, where the offensive line was in the bottom 5. Goff has played 10.4% above QB average statistically, and has earned a 76.3 grade from Pro Football Focus. Compare that to 27.1% below statistical averages last season, and it's safe to say he has improved. Props to the coaching staff. The Los Angeles Rams also lead the NFL in scoring with 32.9 points per game. Top 10 offensive line, Le'Veon Bell, and top 10 offense and defense. Ben Roethlisberger has played 4.6% below QB average, has a 79.9 grade on Pro Football Focus, a 55.8 QBR from ESPN, and a 18.3 DVOA from Football Outsiders. Different methodologies arrive at inconsistent conclusions, but we can all agree he hasn't been as solid through 2017. Luckily, Juju Smith-Schuster and Antonio Brown have been reliable. The Eagles have had an easier schedule than most other teams. Their remaining schedule is 22nd in schedule strength. Arguments can be made that this team will crack against another top-tier team. The O-line's performance has been middling, and yet the Eagles' offense has been the second highest scoring in the league. The defensive line is still one of the most dominant units in the NFL. Patrick Robinson has played tremendously, and Ronald Darby will be returning soon. Add on Carson Wentz, who has been a top 5 QB in 2017, with the production of LeGarrette Blount, and newest addition, Jay Ajayi, and you have yourself a dominant squad. That's it for the mid-season power rankings checkup. What are your rankings for each NFL team this season? I'll check in again once the 2017 NFL season concludes. Until then, Stay cool, my noobs.